if we were to talk about, maybe uh, your, I don't know, the choices you made a bit later than your upbringing in life, in terms of, how they affected your identity, such as like jobs, or like decisions to career paths and stuff like that. What decisions would you say that you made in terms of that, which affected your identity?
I had a commission as a lieutenant, and that gave me 2 years with Sally, and I'm sure Sally and I grew up together during that period. At least I did. I think Sally was all grown up, but I had some more growing up to do, and that was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah.
But I declined to stay in the Army and came home and just started to look for a regular job.
You spoke about how you were in the army. So could you explain whether, your experience as being part of the army, or, you know during your time in the army, how it could have how it could have affected, your identity later in life, in terms of having been part of that?
Well, it was a wonderful experience for me. When I joined, we were sent to a training barrack where a group of probably 40 young men would live in these barracks and train for physical fitness and all the weapons and map reading, night reconnaissance, just a variety of things that you might run into if you ever got into a real conflict. But the men became very close in a very short time, because it was became us against the tactical people who were training us. They were very, very harsh people. We would immediately start at 4:30 in the morning on a 4-mile run with combat boots and all this other weighty stuff. But sometimes we would end the march only to be met by the bass band, and they'd be playing a march, and honest to God, you feel like God. It was just so exciting, and it was wonderful camaraderie.
Yeah.
Our CAD officer was called the harassing officer. That was his job. He would tell us on an evening, you guys are going to get to bed and sleep, lights out at 10 o'clock, and we're going to have a full inspection of your barracks at 3:30 a.m. There better not be any dust anywhere, any cigarette butts, or you'll never get out of here for another weekend. Well, we'd wake up at 2 and start cleaning the place, and we'd get all dressed up, make the bed so a quarter would bounce on it, and all of this and that and the other thing. And they never showed up. But you had to be out front 4:30 in the morning to go for a run.
Yeah.
You hadn't slept at all. So that was an experience. I was I was in with for the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay.
We were for some time taking classes every day on munitions, and there was some training on nuclear devices at Aberdeen, and I took those classes very early on in my tour. But to go through the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I should have worried about that. I tried to call a friend of mine at another post, and it was blacked out.
Oh, really?
You're unable to contact that person.
And would he have been part of the precautionary, kind of ready to go into Cuba kind of thing? Kind of force?
I wasn't affected by that, but evidently some other units were. So there were some people that they were put on alert, is what we call it.
And generally, like, not necessarily even as being part of the military, but just being, just an American citizen, you know, during the peak of the Cold War, like, how do you think that affected your identity in terms of, you know, who you associated with, and maybe whether that whether that affected, you know, patriotism? Uh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, and that's always stuck with me. That I tend to be very patriotic
Yeah.
with thinking about flags and things, and anybody that spent some satisfactory time in the armed services, you never lose that.
Mm. And do you think, you know, that was heightened by, you know, the fact that there was kind of this battle between the two superpowers in the world, and kind of it was, you know, either associated with the U.S., or, you know, given that you would have associated with the U.S., or Russia, or the communists at the time?
They were the bad guys,
Yeah.
clearly, and you felt that, and it was an insult to have them push their weight around
Yeah.
and try to give the United States a hard time. What are
Yeah.
you thinking? We were if you were in the Army or Navy or Air Force, you were pumped up with America forever,
Yeah.
which is we all bought into that, of course.